Okay, this presentation is mostly about learning communities and to some extent also to talk about communities of practice. Probably the principal proponent of these ideas is Etienne Wenger, who's pictured here. Okay. So, a learning community. One of the characteristics of a learning community is that there's a goal, and the goal is a learning goal. In the community of practice, the goal is more about doing something. So if you've got a community of practice, it's something that you have in your work setting. And so there's a group of you whose focus is on whatever it is that your job is doing. So for a lot of people who take this class, they're teachers, and so if you have a community of practice, it would be your colleagues whose goal it is to teach children. And so and in your community of practice, as you're going about doing that, you're working on ways of improving the achievement of that goal of teaching. We all bring something unique to the learning table, and we ought to learn from each other, is what you do. A community of practice, by the way, also may have elements of a learning community. There may be a learning goal embedded in that goal of improving your practice. Communication is central to the learning. Outcomes of learning vary from learner to learner, and so, which makes it difficult to test, because the reason people come to the learning community vary, and so what they're going to get out of it varies. All right, there are three dimensions to a learning community: the domain, the community, and the shared practice. So let's look at each one of those. The domain, a shared domain creates a sense of accountability to a body of knowledge. So we all are committing to, if a learning community has developed as part of this class, you're committed to the body of knowledge of learning theories and instructional strategies. So so that's your domain that you're caring about. So that's one piece of the learning community, so the domain. All right, and then there's the community. A community of practice or an educational learning community is a group of people who interact, learn together, build relationships, which is a key element of the learning community. I mean, if you're just got a few things that you have to do in the class and you have to do that with somebody else, that's not exactly a learning community. It's when relationships are formed that you're talking to people, and you talk about things other than what class is doing. So you're building relationship, and building relationship, as everyone knows, takes time. In the process, you develop a sense of belonging and mutual commitment as one of the consequences. So it's more than just working together in a group. It's really developing friendships and relationships at the same time that you're trying to learn together. All right, and then the third element of a learning community is the shared practice, making its practice visible through the ways that it develops and shares knowledge. So again, as people experiment with things, they bring it back to the community and says, okay, this is what I tried this, and this is what happened, and what does this mean, and everybody kind of chips in to try to help understand the experience. Collaboration is a key element of learning communities, and so improving, continuous experimenting, searching for better practices, both inside and outside of the community, contributing to other people's practices by sharing ideas, reflecting critically in an open and entrusting environment. So, if you try something, it doesn't work, and you come back to the community, you don't want to be ridiculed. You need to feel safe that people can say, oh, well, oh man, I feel bad that happened. I wonder, if you did this, or maybe if you did that, or did you try this, and you give each other support, I mean, that would be a reason why I wanted to do that, so I could experiment and then come back and to get support from my group. Discussing and challenging the purposes, values, and practices of the school or work environment. Okay? So I mean, that's basically what a learning community is. There's a lot more detail in the chapters that you have to read. But to summarize, learning communities have become really popular because of the fact that online learning has become really popular. And learning communities, I don't know if you all have experience with this, but in some classes, it doesn't happen in all face-to-face classes. F2F is face-to-face classrooms. But often when I was in the class, we formed a study group and we all got together and we did stuff together. So the learning community just naturally develops within a face-to-face class, and it doesn't necessarily develop in an online class. So there's been a lot more focus on how to develop those with the advent of online learning. I think this is just a hypothesis of mine, that cooperative learning, the chapter we read on cooperative learning, and learning communities ought to be some sort of convergence. So I think that you can use some of the strategies in cooperative learning to really foster the development of a learning community. And my experience with learning communities at the graduate level, I've witnessed learning communities develop, and it's not a whole class. It's groups within the class that really kind of coalesce together. And what I found is that those learning communities often, after they're done their degree, continue beyond the end of the degree into a community of practice. As they no longer are in classes together, they're still interacting with each other and sharing their experience of their work setting. So those are some ideas about learning communities and communities of practice. I hope that helps, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.